Elena Hart smoothed the front of her tailored navy blazer for what felt like the 100th time, attempting to suppress the nervous flutter in her stomach. The elevator doors opened with a gentle ping onto the top floor of Drake Enterprises, a world where ambition thrived and emotions were best kept hidden. Her heels clicked softly on the polished marble floor as she approached the sleek reception desk, where a poised woman greeted her with a practiced smile. "Elena Hart?" she asked, eyes scanning her from head to toe in silent evaluation. "Yes," Elena responded, offering her brightest, most confident smile. "Welcome to Drake Enterprises. Mr. Drake is expecting you," the woman said, rising gracefully from her chair. "Please follow me." Elena inhaled deeply as she was led down an expansive corridor lined with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bustling city below. She could hardly believe she'd secured such a prestigious position, personal secretary to Alexander Drake, the notoriously cold yet devastatingly handsome CEO. His reputation preceded him. Tales of his business acumen were matched only by whispers about his detached and exacting nature. Elena was determined to maintain a strictly professional demeanor, though she'd be lying if she claimed curiosity hadn't sparked within her about the man behind the legend. Stopping outside a massive glass door with frosted panels, the receptionist knocked lightly before ushering Elena inside. The office was grand, minimally decorated, dominated by a large desk of polished mahogany that faced a stunning cityscape. Behind it stood Alexander Drake, his back turned as he gazed out over the skyline. The sunlight streaming through the windows highlighted his broad shoulders, emphasizing his commanding presence. Elena's heart skipped erratically. "Mr. Drake, this is your new personal secretary, Elena Hart," the receptionist announced politely before retreating silently, closing the door behind her. Alexander turned slowly, his sharp blue eyes immediately locking onto Elena's. A brief, almost imperceptible pause filled the air. Elena's breath caught in her throat. He was even more striking in person, tall and impeccably dressed in a charcoal gray suit that molded perfectly to his lean frame. His jawline was sharp, his features meticulously defined, but his expression was unreadable. "Miss Hart," he greeted, extending a hand. His voice was cool, precise, yet held a surprising warmth beneath its formality. "Welcome to Drake Enterprises." Elena met his handshake firmly, hoping he couldn't feel her pulse racing. "Thank you, Mr. Drake. It's an honor." "I trust you've been informed about your responsibilities," he inquired, his tone distant, all business. "Yes, sir. I've familiarized myself thoroughly," Elena responded confidently, attempting to conceal the subtle tremor in her voice. "Good," he said, his gaze intense. "I value efficiency and discretion above all else. I hope you understand what that means." "Absolutely," Elena replied swiftly, feeling the invisible wall he erected between them. She couldn't help but wonder about the stories she'd heard, about his cold exterior, always impassible. Was this simply his professional facade, or was the distance she sensed something more personal? "Your desk is just outside my office. My schedule and daily requirements will be sent to your workstation each morning," he explained briskly, already turning away. "If there are any uncertainties, I expect you to address them immediately. Mistakes are costly." Elena nodded, understanding this was his way of making boundaries clear. She felt a slight pang of insecurity at his stern words, wondering if she measured up to his expectations. "Understood, Mr. Drake. I won't disappoint," she vowed firmly. "Very well," Alexander replied curtly. "You may start by preparing documents for the upcoming merger meeting tomorrow. Details have been forwarded to you." Without another word, he turned back to the window, signaling their conversation had ended. Elena exited quietly, exhaling the tension she hadn't realized she'd been holding in. Sitting at her sleek, modern desk just outside his office, she dove into the documents, determined to prove herself capable and reliable. But no matter how diligently she tried to concentrate, she couldn't erase Alexander's intense gaze from her mind. Hours passed quickly as she lost herself in the complexities of the merger files. By the time she looked up from her work, most employees had left. The office was eerily silent, save for the gentle hum of the air conditioning. Rubbing her eyes tiredly, Elena realized that Alexander was still in his office. Curiosity tugged at her, but she resisted the urge to check on him. She was here to be professional, nothing more. Just then, Alexander emerged from his office, visibly surprised to find her still at her desk. His eyes softened slightly, a flicker of something, approval perhaps, crossing his face. "You're still here?" he asked, his voice softer now, almost gentle. Elena stood quickly, smoothing her skirt self-consciously. "I wanted to ensure everything was prepared for tomorrow. These documents are crucial, and I don't want any mistakes." He regarded her quietly, his eyes lingering for a moment longer than necessary. Finally, he nodded. "Good night, Miss Hart." "Good night, Mr. Drake," she replied softly, feeling strangely affected by the brief exchange. As he walked away, Elena wondered about the enigmatic man she now worked for. Beneath his polished exterior, she had glimpsed a trace of vulnerability, a moment of genuine emotion that left her heart pounding. Yet, she reminded herself sternly, she had promised professionalism. Attraction was dangerous, and Alexander Drake was clearly off-limits. But as she gathered her things to leave, Elena couldn't help the lingering thought that perhaps, just perhaps, maintaining those boundaries might be more challenging than she had anticipated. Elena arrived early at the office, her second week barely underway, still determined to prove herself indispensable. She had already become somewhat accustomed to Alexander Drake's rigid schedule and exacting standards. Though she maintained her professional facade impeccably, her heart still fluttered each time he entered a room. But she was determined to never let that show. Emotions had no place in her role, especially given Alexander's frosty detachment toward everyone, herself included. As she settled at her desk, reviewing Alexander's itinerary, she noticed a voicemail notification on the office phone. Curiously, she played it, recognizing the voice immediately as Alexander's business partner, Richard Maxwell. "Alex, we need to discuss the termination." "It's urgent," Richard said tersely before hanging up. Termination? Elena's heart plummeted. Was her job at risk already? Had she failed to meet his expectations so quickly? Panic raced through her veins. Suddenly, every small misstep, every minor hesitation in Alexander's presence felt magnified. Determined not to lose her position without a fight, Elena resolved to prove herself invaluable, starting immediately. When Alexander arrived, impeccably dressed as always, he gave Elena a curt nod. "Miss Hart, bring me the Henderson files. I need them for the afternoon meeting." "Yes, sir." Right away, Elena replied eagerly, rushing to comply. Over the next few days, Elena threw herself into her work with renewed vigor. She stayed late, arrived early, anticipated Alexander's every need, and managed his schedule flawlessly. Yet Alexander's reactions remained unchanged, detached, and unreadable. If anything, her zealous efforts seemed to create a wider chasm between them. Alexander observed her sudden diligence with suspicion. He noticed her subtle yet clear attempts to impress him, fetching coffee before he asked, triple-checking documents unnecessarily. He couldn't help but wonder, what was she after? Was she trying to manipulate him to secure more than just her job? His past made him wary. He'd seen similar tactics from women aiming to leverage affection for personal gain. Late one evening, Elena worked diligently at her desk, the office eerily silent. She hoped Alexander would see her dedication, perhaps reconsider firing her. Lost in her task, she didn't notice him approach until he cleared his throat sharply. "Miss Hart, why are you still here?" he asked, his voice cold, eyes narrowed. Elena stood abruptly, startled. I wanted to ensure everything is perfect for tomorrow's presentation." He studied her closely, arms crossed, his eyes sharp. This sudden fervor. What's the reason behind it? Caught off guard, Elena hesitated, struggling to find the right words. "I just want to make sure I meet your expectations. Or perhaps exceed them to gain something?" Alexander countered, his tone biting. Elena's eyes widened, confusion and hurt filling her expression. Gain something? I don't understand. Don't play coy, Miss Hart, he interrupted harshly. I've seen your type before. You think you can impress me, manipulate situations to your advantage. Elena's heart raced, humiliation burning her cheeks. She stepped closer, anger and hurt battling inside her. I'm not trying to manipulate anything. I'm fighting to keep my job. I know you plan to terminate me. Alexander's expression shifted from cold skepticism to surprise. Terminate you? Yes, she exclaimed, her voice rising with emotion. I overheard the voicemail from Mr. Maxwell. You're discussing termination, and I assumed enough. Alexander cut her off abruptly, realization dawning on him. He sighed, rubbing his temples in frustration. The termination discussed was regarding a problematic client, not you. Stunned, Elena's eyes widened in shock, embarrassment flooding her senses. Oh, she whispered softly. I'm so sorry. I misunderstood. An awkward silence lingered between them, tension thickening the air. Alexander regarded Elena carefully, noting the genuine distress in her eyes. He'd misread her intentions entirely, assuming the worst due to his past experiences. It seems we've both misunderstood each other, he admitted softly, breaking the silence. Elena looked away, mortified. I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions. And I shouldn't have accused you unfairly, he admitted, voice low with regret. I've grown distrustful over the years. Perhaps unfairly so. The intensity of the moment drew them closer, emotions raw and exposed. Elena lifted her eyes to meet Alexander's gaze. Something unspoken lingered between them, an electric, magnetic tension neither could deny. I just wanted to prove myself, Elena said softly, voice trembling slightly. I see that now, Alexander replied, his tone softer, almost vulnerable. But you don't need to try so hard. Elena took a shaky breath, suddenly aware of how close they stood, how deeply she felt the pull between them. Alexander's eyes darkened, the air around them thickening with undeniable desire. Neither moved away. The charged silence stretched on until, almost involuntarily, Alexander reached out, gently touching Elena's arm, fingers trailing upward until they lightly grazed her cheek. Her breath hitched at his touch, eyes searching his for an answer she couldn't articulate. Suddenly, caution abandoned them both. Alexander leaned down slowly, hesitantly, allowing her the chance to step back. Instead, Elena leaned in, closing the gap, their lips meeting in an impulsive, fiery kiss that ignited every suppressed desire between them. The kiss was deep, electrifying, filled with weeks of pent-up emotion. For a moment, time ceased to matter. It was only them, caught in a whirlwind of passion and confusion. But reality came crashing back quickly. Elena pulled away abruptly, eyes wide with shock, heart pounding erratically. I shouldn't have, she stammered, taking a step back, cheeks flushed. Alexander looked equally stunned, eyes dark with conflicted emotions. No, we shouldn't have, he agreed quietly, running a hand through his hair, visibly shaken. Elena gathered her things hastily. I'm sorry, she whispered, avoiding his gaze. Good night, Mr. Drake. Good night, Miss Hart, Alexander murmured, watching her hurried exit, both regret and longing mingling in his eyes. As Elena fled the building, emotions tangled and raw, she realized their misunderstanding had spiraled into something far more complicated, something she feared neither could control. Elena arrived at the office the next morning with her heart heavy and her mind clouded with confusion. Memories of the passionate kiss she had shared with Alexander haunted her every thought, making sleep elusive and focus impossible. She dreaded facing him, unsure how she'd handle their inevitable encounter. Did it mean something to him? Or was it merely a mistake, one he regretted as much as she feared he did? Taking a deep breath, she pushed through the office doors and nearly froze at the sight that greeted her. Standing elegantly near Alexander's office was Victoria Blake, Alexander's ex-fiancée and a prominent figure in the city's elite circles. Victoria was as stunning as rumored, dressed in a sophisticated crimson dress that emphasized her statuesque frame and flawless complexion. She exuded confidence and charm, exactly the kind of woman Elena imagined Alexander belonged with. Elena's stomach twisted with jealousy and inadequacy. How could she ever compete with someone like Victoria? Before she could retreat to her desk unnoticed, Alexander emerged from his office. His usually stoic face brightened subtly upon seeing Victoria, further twisting the knife in Elena's chest. "Victoria," Alexander greeted her warmly, kissing her cheek lightly. "This is a surprise." "Alexander," Victoria purred softly, touching his arm familiarly. "I thought it was time we caught up." Elena quickly looked away, pretending to busy herself with paperwork. Her heart sank deeper, every smile and touch exchanged between them cutting her to the core. She chastised herself silently for believing, even for a moment, that a kiss could change anything between her and Alexander. It was clear now, she was just a passing distraction, easily forgotten. As Elena sat at her desk, consumed by these painful thoughts, Alexander walked past, pausing briefly as if he wanted to say something. Elena avoided his eyes, determined not to show her emotions. Misinterpreting her cold demeanor as regret or disinterest, Alexander stiffened, retreating back into his office with a tightened jaw. Over the next few days, the atmosphere in the office grew strained. Elena withdrew, focusing strictly on work and maintaining an icy professionalism. She avoided Alexander whenever possible, feeling humiliated and vulnerable. Meanwhile, Alexander grappled with his own confusion and frustration. He couldn't forget their kiss, nor the intensity of his desire for Elena. Yet, her sudden aloofness felt like a rejection, confirming his fears that workplace romance brought only complications. Victoria visited frequently, her presence becoming a painful reminder of Elena's assumed inadequacies. One afternoon, as Elena passed by Alexander's office door, slightly ajar, she overheard snippets of their conversation. "Perhaps we made mistakes, Alex." Victoria's voice was soft, coaxing. "I miss us." Elena's chest tightened painfully. She moved quickly down the hallway, unable to bear hearing more. Each encounter between Alexander and Victoria fueled her insecurities, making it impossible to concentrate. Meanwhile, Alexander felt increasingly disoriented by Elena's behavior. He noticed her withdrawn attitude and assumed she regretted their moment together. Unable to read her true feelings, he grew frustrated, even angry at himself for allowing vulnerability to cloud his judgment. He wondered if Elena planned to resign, cutting ties completely, a thought that filled him with an inexplicable dread. Tension between them reached a boiling point late one evening when Elena stayed behind to finalize documents for an upcoming client meeting. Alone, she finally released a heavy sigh, thinking she was safe from Alexander's unsettling presence. But moments later, he appeared unexpectedly at her desk, startling her. "Miss Hart," he began tersely, clearly struggling to control his emotions. "Is there something you'd like to tell me?" Elena looked up, surprised by his sharp tone. "No, Mr. Drake," she replied coolly, refusing to meet his intense gaze. "I don't believe there is." "Really?" he challenged, eyes narrowing. "Because your sudden coldness suggests otherwise." "Is this about the other night?" Elena felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment and anger. "It was a mistake," she blurted out defensively. "Clearly it meant nothing, so let's forget it happened." Alexander's expression hardened, but a flicker of hurt crossed his eyes. "Is that what you believe? That it meant nothing?" Elena swallowed hard, afraid to admit her true feelings. "Isn't that how it should be?" "You clearly have other priorities," she snapped, unable to stop herself. Alexander's brows knitted in confusion. "Other priorities? You mean Victoria?" Elena's eyes flashed, her jealousy boiling over. "It's not my place to question your personal life. But I refuse to be caught up in whatever games you're playing." Alexander stepped closer, his voice lowering dangerously. "Games? You think I'm playing games with you?" "Yes." Elena shot back angrily, rising from her chair to face him. "One moment you kiss me, and the next you're back with her." I'm tired of being toyed with. You have no idea what you're talking about, Alexander retorted, his voice filled with frustration. Victoria and I are history. Then why is she here so often? Elena demanded, her voice wavering with emotion. Why do you keep giving her hope? Alexander sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair, visibly agitated. Victoria is persistent, but there's nothing between us anymore. She wants something I can't give. Elena hesitated, conflicted. Then why let her stay close? Why torment me with it? Torment you. Alexander repeated softly, stepping closer until they were mere inches apart. His voice dropped to a whisper, intense and sincere. Do you really think I'd intentionally hurt you? Elena's heart pounded erratically, her defenses crumbling under his piercing gaze. I don't know what to think anymore, she admitted softly, vulnerability evident in her voice. Slowly, Alexander reached out, gently touching her cheek, forcing her to meet his eyes. I don't either, he confessed. All I know is that I can't stop thinking about that night. About you. Their eyes locked, the air charged with emotion, doubt, and an undeniable longing. Yet fear held them both captive, preventing either from taking that final step closer. Before either could move, the distant sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway, breaking the spell. Alexander stepped back abruptly, composing himself. Good night, Miss Hart, he said stiffly, retreating to his office before she could respond. Elena slumped back into her chair, breathless and overwhelmed by a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Their misunderstandings had only deepened, leaving both of them confused, hurt, and yet more drawn to each other than ever. As she left the building later, Elena realized one thing with aching clarity. Whether they admitted it or not, the line between professional distance and personal desire had already blurred beyond recognition. The following days were tense and emotionally draining. Elena and Alexander avoided each other, communicating only when absolutely necessary. The silence between them was louder than any words they could have exchanged, each moment in the office becoming increasingly unbearable. Elena tried desperately to refocus on work, immersing herself in preparation for a crucial client presentation scheduled for the coming week. She arrived early, stayed late, and did everything possible to ignore the ache that tightened her chest every time Alexander passed by. Yet no amount of work could distract her from the turmoil within. His words echoed constantly in her mind. I can't stop thinking about that night. About you. Late one Thursday evening, Elena remained at her desk, poring over the final details of the presentation. The office was empty, shadows lengthening across the polished floors. Lost in concentration, she barely noticed when Alexander approached her desk until he cleared his throat softly. Miss Hart, he began carefully, his voice devoid of its usual coldness. We need to talk. Elena's pulse quickened, nerves fluttering in her stomach. About what, Mr. Drake? She asked cautiously, keeping her tone neutral. About us, he replied simply, motioning toward his office. In private, please. Elena hesitated, fear and anticipation warring inside her. Yet curiosity won out, and she followed him silently into his office. Alexander shut the door quietly, turning to face her. He looked exhausted, the strain of their situation etched deeply into his handsome features. This can't continue, he started, breaking the heavy silence. This tension between us, it's affecting our work. Elena swallowed, heart hammering against her ribs. I agree. But what do you propose we do? Alexander sighed, running a hand over his face. We need to clear the air, Elena. Be honest with each other. Elena flinched slightly at the use of her first name, so intimate, so vulnerable. All right. You first, she challenged softly. He hesitated, then stepped closer, his voice dropping to a near whisper. That night wasn't a mistake to me. I kissed you because I couldn't stop myself. Because I wanted to. Elena felt her breath hitch, meeting his eyes hesitantly. Then why did you act so distant afterward? Why did you let Victoria? Victoria means nothing to me, Alexander interrupted sharply, his voice tinged with frustration. She's persistent, yes, but I've made it clear to her that we're over. There's only one person on my mind these days, and it's you. Elena's eyes widened in surprise, heart racing with hope and fear intertwined. Then why push me away? Alexander sighed heavily, vulnerability flashing across his face. Because I've been hurt before deeply. A relationship with you terrifies me. Not because I don't want it, but because I want it too much. Workplace romances are dangerous. They've nearly ruined me before. Elena stepped closer, her voice soft but steady. I'm not here to hurt you, Alexander. But I can't pretend like this isn't complicated for me too. Seeing you with Victoria, she's a part of my past, Elena, he assured firmly, stepping even closer until mere inches separated them. You're the one I want. But I need to know if you truly feel the same. Elena inhaled deeply, her resolve crumbling beneath his intense gaze. I've been terrified to admit how I feel. Terrified that if I did, it would change everything, and I'd lose my job, or worse, lose your respect. Alexander reached out slowly, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek, his touch gentle yet electric. You could never lose my respect. You've earned it more than anyone. I've been fighting my feelings too, thinking it would protect us both, but it's only made everything worse. The moment hung between them, charged with longing and vulnerability. Elena leaned into his touch, their eyes locked in silent understanding. The barriers they'd so carefully erected began to crumble, and Alexander's lips found hers once more, gentle at first, then deepening with an intensity that left them both breathless. This kiss was different, more intentional, filled with clarity rather than confusion. It spoke of mutual desire and shared fears, a silent promise to navigate their complicated emotions together. When they finally broke apart, Elena felt a deep sense of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from her shoulders. So what happens now? She asked softly, breathless and hopeful. We take this slow, Alexander murmured, still holding her close. We keep it discreet for now. Not because I'm ashamed, but because I want to protect you. Protect us. Elena nodded in agreement, a small smile playing on her lips. Slow is good. But promise me one thing. Anything, he vowed without hesitation. No more misunderstandings. If we have doubts or questions, we talk, she insisted firmly. Alexander nodded solemnly, sincerity gleaming in his eyes. Agreed. Complete honesty. Reluctantly, they stepped apart, aware of the delicate balance they now faced. Elena felt a wave of relief mixed with apprehension. They were navigating unknown territory, each aware of the risks yet unable to resist the pull between them. Over the next week, their cautious, discreet romance flourished behind closed doors. They exchanged stolen glances during meetings, subtle touches in passing, and late-night conversations that strengthened their bond. Elena found herself happier than she'd been in years, her confidence renewed. Yet, despite their best efforts, whispers began to spread in the office. Colleagues speculated, fueled by Victoria's frequent appearances and Elena's sudden closeness to Alexander. Elena felt the pressure, wondering if they were doing the right thing. One evening, as they stayed late working on the final presentation, Alexander noticed Elena's troubled expression. What's wrong? He asked softly, concern evident. People are talking, she admitted quietly. It makes me nervous. He reached for her hand reassuringly. Let them talk. Our relationship is our business, no one else's. Elena squeezed his hand gently, comforted but not entirely reassured. I just don't want this to jeopardize either of us. Especially you. Don't worry about me, Alexander insisted firmly. I can handle the rumors. You're worth whatever comes our way. Elena smiled softly, warmth spreading through her chest. You really mean that? With all my heart, he replied sincerely, pulling her close for another tender kiss. As they embraced, Elena felt hope ignite inside her, mingling with lingering apprehension. Their relationship might be complicated, tangled in misunderstandings and fears, but at least now they faced it together, openly and honestly. It was a fragile start, but Elena knew, deep down, it was one worth fighting for. The early morning sun streamed through Elena's bedroom window, waking her from a restless sleep. Despite the newfound clarity in her relationship with Alexander, an uneasy feeling lingered, a constant reminder of the precarious balance they were maintaining. Their secret romance had been her greatest source of happiness, but also the heaviest burden on her mind. Arriving at work that day, she immediately noticed the tense atmosphere. Colleagues whispered furtively, casting worried glances toward Alexander's office. Elena's heart tightened. Something was terribly wrong. Before she could ask anyone, she saw Alexander, standing rigid in his office, his jaw clenched, expression darker than she'd ever seen. Approaching cautiously, Elena tapped softly on his office door. "Mr. Drake, is everything all right?" Alexander turned abruptly, his eyes stormy, face etched with anger and distress. "There's been a leak," he said sharply. "Confidential financial documents were released publicly. They're accusing me of insider trading and embezzlement." Elena's breath caught sharply. "What? How could this happen?" "Someone within the company betrayed me," he muttered bitterly, running a frustrated hand through his hair. "The board is calling an emergency meeting. My reputation, everything I've built, could be destroyed." Elena stepped closer, voice unwavering with determination. "We'll fix this. You've done nothing wrong. I know you." Alexander's expression softened momentarily. "I appreciate your trust, Elena, but this scandal is serious. It could ruin me." "Then we fight it," Elena urged firmly. "We'll find proof of your innocence." Alexander nodded slowly, drawing strength from her steadfast belief. "Thank you," he whispered softly. "But be careful. Whoever did this might be dangerous." Over the next few days, tension escalated dramatically. Alexander faced intense scrutiny from the board and relentless questioning from the media. Elena remained resolutely by his side, quietly gathering information and piecing together the puzzle. She stayed late every night, reviewing company records and transactions, determined to prove Alexander's innocence. One evening, Elena received an anonymous message on her phone. Her pulse quickened as she read it. "Meet me at Cafe West. I have information on Drake's scandal." Cautiously, Elena slipped out, heart pounding. At the dimly lit cafe, she was shocked to see Peter Sinclair, Alexander's fierce business rival, waiting for her. Her stomach knotted in suspicion. "Mr. Sinclair, what is this about?" "I have proof Alexander Drake is innocent," Sinclair stated plainly, his expression hard but earnest. "I don't particularly like the man, but framing him goes against my principles." Elena leaned in, eyes wide with hope. "Who did this?" "Victoria Blake," Sinclair revealed bluntly. "She and an insider manipulated records to implicate Alexander. She's bitter about their breakup and saw an opportunity for revenge." Elena's breath hitched, anger bubbling beneath her skin. She collected the evidence from Sinclair, documents, emails, and recorded calls proving Alexander's innocence and Victoria's guilt. "Why tell me?" she asked cautiously. "Because you're close to him," Sinclair said knowingly. "And because, unlike Victoria, I respect Alexander as an adversary. He deserves to fight fairly." Elena thanked him, leaving the cafe in a rush of adrenaline and relief. But as she hurried back to the office, another complication arose. Unknown to her, Alexander had seen her leave the building and discreetly followed. From a distance, he had witnessed her clandestine meeting with Sinclair, misunderstanding the scene completely. Back at the office, Elena found Alexander pacing his office furiously. As she approached, she felt his cold glare. "Care to explain your meeting with Sinclair?" he demanded sharply, betrayal evident in his voice. Elena's eyes widened in shock. "Alexander, wait, it's not what you think." "What am I supposed to think?" he shot back, his voice rising. "Meeting secretly with my greatest rival while I'm fighting for my life? Have I been a fool to trust you?" Elena's heart shattered at his accusation. "How could you think that?" she cried, voice trembling with hurt. "I was helping you." He had evidence. Evidence of what? Your loyalty to him. Alexander retorted bitterly. "No!" Elena exclaimed desperately, pulling out the folder Sinclair had given her. "Evidence of your innocence. Victoria set you up, Alexander. Sinclair was helping." Alexander froze, confusion flickering across his face. Elena thrust the documents toward him, tears welling in her eyes. "I would never betray you," she whispered, voice breaking. "How could you doubt me?" As Alexander scanned the documents, realization and guilt washed over him. "Elena, I'm sorry," he murmured softly, reaching for her, but she stepped back, deeply wounded. "You promised no more misunderstandings," Elena whispered tearfully. "Yet you believed the worst about me instantly." Alexander looked genuinely pained. "I was scared. My entire world is collapsing, and seeing you with him, it triggered every fear I've ever had." Elena took a shaky breath, fighting her hurt. "Trust is all we have. Without it, what's left?" Alexander stepped closer, eyes pleading. "Let me earn it back. Please." Elena hesitated, torn between her pain and her deep love for him. Finally, she met his gaze, voice soft but firm. "Then trust me now. Trust that everything I've done is for you." Alexander nodded solemnly, humbled. "I trust you, Elena." Together, they worked tirelessly that night, compiling Sinclair's evidence into an undeniable case. By morning, they presented it to the board and legal authorities, who swiftly opened an investigation against Victoria. Within hours, Alexander was publicly cleared of all accusations. The media frenzy turned its attention to Victoria, whose vengeful plot unraveled quickly under scrutiny. Relief flooded the office, and Alexander, grateful beyond words, publicly acknowledged Elena's unwavering support. Rumors ceased, replaced by admiration for her loyalty and integrity. Elena's reputation soared alongside Alexander's vindication. Late that evening, exhausted yet triumphant, Alexander found Elena alone in his office. She looked up, eyes weary but warm. "We did it," she whispered, smiling softly. "No," Alexander corrected gently, approaching her. "You did it. I'd be lost without you." He reached out, gently cupping her face. Elena leaned into his touch, eyes misty with relief. "No more misunderstandings?" she asked softly, voice trembling. "Never again," Alexander promised fervently. "You've given me more than trust. You've given me faith. In you. In us." Elena's heart swelled with hope, their bond stronger now than ever before. Despite the pain and confusion, they had weathered the storm together, emerging more resilient and deeply in love. As Alexander drew her close, holding her securely, Elena knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them united, no longer misguided by fear, but guided by trust, loyalty, and unwavering love. Sunlight poured through the expansive windows of Drake Enterprises, illuminating the bustling office with a gentle warmth. It had been weeks since the scandal had subsided, and Alexander's name had been cleared. Life at the company had returned to normal, yet something fundamentally had changed, both in the office and between Alexander and Elena. No longer were they tiptoeing around their feelings or guarding their hearts behind layers of fear and misunderstanding. Instead, they had reached a quiet understanding, still cautious in public, but open and honest in private. Yet Elena couldn't help but wonder how long they could maintain their discretion, especially with their feelings growing stronger every day. As she sat at her desk, reviewing Alexander's schedule for the week, a gentle tap on her shoulder startled her. Looking up, she met Alexander's warm, affectionate gaze. "Are you busy tonight?" he asked softly, a faint smile curving his lips. "No plans," Elena replied, unable to suppress her own smile. "Why?" "I'd like to take you out," Alexander said, voice low and sincere. "A proper date, somewhere private, just us." Elena's heart fluttered with excitement and nerves. "I'd like that very much." "Good," he replied warmly, brushing his fingers lightly against hers before retreating to his office. The rest of the day passed in a blur of anticipation. By evening, Elena found herself nervously getting ready, selecting a delicate black dress, elegant yet understated. When Alexander arrived at her doorstep, looking impeccably handsome in a tailored suit, Elena felt her heart race with anticipation. "You look beautiful," he murmured softly, offering his arm. "Shall we?" They drove to a quiet, intimate restaurant nestled in a hidden corner of the city, a place where they could enjoy each other's company undisturbed. Throughout dinner, conversation flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter, shared stories, and gentle teasing. It felt natural, as if they'd been doing this forever, not just discovering each other now. After dessert, Alexander reached across the table, taking her hand gently. "Elena, there's something I need to say." Her breath hitched, eyes searching his face carefully. "What is it?" Alexander took a deep breath, eyes soft yet intense. "I've spent so long protecting myself from heartbreak, afraid of vulnerability, and pushing away anything real. But with you, I want to take that risk. You've shown me trust, loyalty, and unwavering support. You've changed me." Elena squeezed his hand reassuringly. "You've changed me too, Alexander. I was afraid of losing my job, of never being enough for you. But now, none of that matters. What matters is how we feel." He smiled softly, a hint of vulnerability lingering in his expression. "Then let's stop hiding. Let's be open about us. I don't want secrets or doubts anymore." Elena's heart soared, her smile radiant. "Are you sure? It might not be easy." "I'm sure," Alexander vowed, eyes shining with sincerity. "You're worth every risk." The next morning, Alexander called a staff meeting. With Elena standing beside him, he addressed the curious faces gathered before him. "I have something important to share," he began firmly, meeting each questioning gaze. "As many of you have likely suspected, Elena Hart and I are in a relationship." Surprised murmurs spread through the crowd. Alexander raised a hand, quieting them quickly. "I'm announcing this not to invite gossip, but to be transparent. Elena has shown integrity, dedication, and unwavering loyalty, traits I deeply admire and respect." He paused, glancing at Elena with affection. "I love her, and this relationship has my full support. I ask that you respect our privacy, just as we respect yours." There was a brief, stunned silence, then slow applause, respectful and genuine. Elena blushed, glancing shyly at Alexander, who smiled reassuringly. For the first time, she felt completely secure in their love, no longer hidden behind secrecy or misunderstandings. Over the following weeks, Elena and Alexander navigated their public relationship with grace. They faced curious glances and occasional whispers, but overall, support and admiration surrounded them. Their bond deepened, strengthened by honesty, communication, and shared dreams. One evening, as they strolled through a quiet park near Elena's apartment, Alexander paused beneath the soft glow of a street lamp. Turning toward her, he took her hands gently in his expression tender yet serious. "Elena, I've thought long and hard about what I'm about to say," he began earnestly. "Meeting you changed everything for me. I've realized how empty my life was before you, filled with work and little else. You've brought joy, warmth, and purpose into my life." Elena's heart beat rapidly, sensing the significance of his words. "Alexander, please, let me finish," he continued softly, a hint of vulnerability coloring his voice. "I don't want to imagine a life without you. I love you deeply, more than I ever thought possible. I want to build a future with you." He reached into his pocket, retrieving a small velvet box. Elena's eyes widened, tears shimmering with anticipation. Alexander opened the box, revealing a delicate diamond ring, elegant and timeless. "Elena Hart, will you marry me?" he asked, voice trembling slightly with emotion. Elena's hands flew to her mouth, eyes glistening with tears of joy. "Yes, Alexander. Of course, I will." He slipped the ring gently onto her finger, eyes bright with love and relief. Drawing her into his arms, he kissed her tenderly, sealing their promise beneath the soft, moonlit sky. From that night forward, their lives changed irrevocably. Colleagues congratulated them warmly, friendships deepened, and their love blossomed openly and unashamedly. Alexander's guarded heart had finally opened, and Elena's insecurities faded into a distant memory. They had overcome misunderstandings, fear, and doubt, emerging stronger, more committed than ever. On their wedding day, surrounded by loved ones, Alexander held Elena's hands, eyes brimming with emotion as they exchanged vows. "You taught me trust," he whispered softly. "You taught me how to love fearlessly. I promise to cherish you, respect you, and never let misunderstandings come between us again." Elena smiled through happy tears, voice steady yet filled with emotion. "You showed me that I am enough, just as I am. I promise to stand by you, trust you, and love you unconditionally. You're my strength and my heart." As they sealed their vows with a heartfelt kiss, applause erupted around them. Their journey had been tumultuous, yet beautiful. Now, embraced by love, understanding, and unbreakable trust, they faced the future together, bound not by misguided desires, but by true, unwavering love. The end.
Thank you so much for watching. All my stories are written by me, and I hope you enjoy them. I upload new videos daily, so I hope you'll hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'd also love to hear what you think about this story in the comments, and feel free to tell me what kinds of stories you'd like me to bring to the channel in the future.